Okay, so this video is going to look at the layering system within Autocad so that you can turn layers on and off or freeze and thaw them, and you can create layers and make them the current layer so that when you create something it comes up on that layer, so you've got more control and anyone looking at the drawing knows what you've done to it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to clean up this drawing a little bit so that we can edit this area here, which is it's plot 1 that we're going to look at, but we've found that there's quite a lot of information extra that we don't need to show on the drawing, and the easiest way of getting rid of that is to going into layers, which is in the layer properties manager, which is also up the top here, as you can see, layer properties. But it should be docked on the left. If it isn't, then just go up to layer properties and open it that way. So what you can do is you can actually interrogate the layer that you want to turn off. So I click on the layer I don't want, and I can see up the top here that it's actually layer 0, which is a bit of an odd layer. It should really be on a specific layer, but in this instance it doesn't really matter because we can just turn off or freeze or freeze layer 0. So we'll freeze layer 0, and you can see already that we've got a drawing which we can work with. We want to do later on in the next video, we want to do the center lines for a dig, so we've got really easy access to actually be able to see what we're working with much clearer. What we also want to do is create a layer to use for our center line. I've already down here got a layer called point, which we'll use for the point IDs. So if you click on that layer and then right click, create new layer, and we'll call that center line. It's probably better if we create a different color for it, so click on the actual color box and we'll give it, usually it's best to work with sort of one of the 9 colors that you've got here, unless you can see already within the layers that there's loads of those colors being used. Now I can see that we haven't actually got a layer which is like a dark blue, so we can use that color. And you can see that we've got our center line in blue, and we can also then change under line type, we can change whether we want that to be continuous, which is the default, and we can load new line types if we want to. So just to show you how that works, you click on load and you can have, say, a hidden line type or a center line type. So we could actually go for a center line type for this because we know it's actually a center line. Choose that center line type and it comes up as the center line on your layer. What you'll find is if you look up top here that your current layer shows up here. So at the moment the current layer is point, but we want our current layer to be the center line. So again, you can right click on that and set current. So now when we create a line, so I'm just going to create a line by typing L for line. Okay, this is quite a common thing. I've created a line. We know it's actually on the center line, but at the moment our properties of that line are white for some reason. It should actually be by layer. So we need to double check that once we've created the layer that we want. We want to make sure that that layer is on by layer, not anything else. It could be by block, it could be a whole load of different colors as well, but we want it by layer so that when you create the line, you can see that now it's actually the color that you want it to be, rather than white, which isn't any help to anyone. Okay, so that is our layer properties dialog box, and creating layers, freezing layers. We can also turn off layers in the same way. If you find that you can't actually see what is actually going on within the layer properties dialog box, you can pull it out so that you can see better. or if my mouse controls were better, you'd be able to do so. Okay, so here we are. Up at the top, you can go up to the top, and then you can see when you hover over, your mouse changes the cursor, so it goes from an arrow to sort of two different arrows, left and right, and you can pull those bits out so you can see what the actual headings say. So we see that we've got on and freeze, we've got color, line type, line weight, etc. And normally I wouldn't recommend changing the line weight within the layers box, because you can change the line weight when you go to plot things. Even if they are default line, it's usually change the actual line weight when you're plotting, depending on what the actual color that you're using of each layer is. So I wouldn't recommend changing the line weight within that, but that is basically the layers properties dialog box.